The world is getting louder, our attention spans are shrinking, stress is at an all-time high, and yet people still think that having more is the solution. I believe that in the modern world, minimalism isn't about being trendy, it's about survival. It's the only way to stay sane in a world that never stops filling your life with stuff and pulling you in every direction. In this video, I will go through why survival today looks nothing like it used to, the silent crisis shaping our lives without us realizing it, how we ended up in this mess, and why minimalism is the only way out of this cycle. Because once you see the truth about all this, you just cannot unsee it. Let's dive in. Part 1. The evolution of survival. For most of human history, survival was about staying alive in the most basic sense. Food, shelter, protection from threats. If you couldn't secure those things, you wouldn't last. But today, the rules of survival have completely changed. Most of us don't wake up worrying about where to find food. We don't have to chase animals for miles or worry about surviving harsh winters without shelter, even here in Finland, at least for the most part. But at the same time, we're facing a new kind of battle, one that still threatens our existence, just in a very different way. The spectrum of survival. Let's imagine survival as a spectrum. On one end, you have scarcity, not enough food, shelter, or resources. On the other end, you have excess, too much of everything. Too many choices, too many resources, too much stimulation, too much noise. And while this might seem like a better problem to have, it comes with its own dangers, ones that aren't as obvious but are just as damaging. And in the middle, we have thriving. The goal has always been to move away from scarcity and into a life where we can thrive. But instead of stopping at that sweet spot in the middle, most of us have gone way too far, pushing ourselves to the point where we are drowning in stuff, so to the complete other extreme. And because of that, survival has taken on a new form. So in the modern world, survival has gone from physical to mental survival. Our ancestors hunted for food. Today, we hunt for focus in a world full of distractions. We hunt for purpose. With endless choices and constant comparison, many people feel lost and without direction. We hunt for connection. In the past, people relied on their tribes for food, protection, and emotional support, but now people feel isolated. They wish they had even one person they could truly connect with. Survival used to mean reading the land and predicting the weather. Today, we navigate a different kind of wilderness, one filled with marketing traps and consumer culture and financial pitfalls, all which can destroy basically our life. We don't realize what we are actually fighting against. One of the most dangerous things about modern survival is that threats don't look like threats. In the past, the enemy was very easy to see. A predator in the wild was a clear danger, or a deadly storm meant immediate action. But today, the things that drain us the most don't come with warning signs. They are pretty much invisible. Like I've mentioned in previous videos, the most dangerous enemy isn't the one that makes the most noise. It's the one you don't even realize is hurting you until it's too late. Most people don't think of excessive consumption, phone addiction, or overbooked schedules as survival threats, but they are. They slowly take away your ability to function until you are trapped in a cycle you never saw coming. Just like a computer running too many tasks, tabs, and background programs all at once. At first, it slows down, then it starts lagging, struggling to keep up with even the simplest commands, and eventually, if you don't clear the clutter, it freezes completely, crashing into the blue screen of death, which you may be familiar with. Your mind works the same way. Part 2. The silent crisis shaping our lives without us realizing it. We blame stress, work, social media, or just how life is these days for our unwellness. And while that might be true, the reality is much more complex and the consequences are far more severe than we might realize. To make it easier to understand, I will break it down into 3 layers, peeling them back one by one until we reach the core of what's really happening to us. Surface layer. the distractions that run our lives. We open our phones just for a second, maybe to check a message or look something up, but before we know it, we are stuck in an endless loop of content. One video turns into 10, one ad leads to another, and suddenly an hour has passed. And it's not just entertainment. Every single thing we see is an influence. This video as well. And that's why I always try to be very careful with what I say and especially what I promote. Social media and ads we see shape our desires and decisions. What we think we need, what we think we should look like, what we think success is. And that's when many people start spending recklessly. We see a product, a solution to a problem we didn't even know we had, and we buy it. We convince ourselves that it is worth it and that it will add value, that it is exactly what we need. But what we don't realize is that every purchase adds to the physical and mental clutter in our lives. The more we accumulate, the more our space becomes overwhelming, which ironically makes us feel like we need even more things to fix the mess that we have created. More storage solutions, more organizers, more things to make life feel like simpler. And as our space fills up, so does our mental load. We think we own things, but actually they own us. Because owning more means managing more decisions to make, more schedules to coordinate, more tasks to keep up with. Every possession, every commitment, every responsibility demands something from us. That's just how life is. And because we have so much going on mentally, physically, financially, emotionally, we have no energy left for what we would actually like to do. Burnout rates are at an all-time high, and it is no surprise. People are exhausted, not just from work, but from life itself, from managing too much, from trying to keep up, from carrying the weight of all the things that they thought they needed, but never truly did. And this is where we start to feel the deeper effects of this crisis. Middle layer, the mental and emotional toll. Research says that every day we make around 35,000 decisions. What to wear, what to eat, what to reply to a message. The small ones feel automatic, but they add up. And by the time we need to make bigger choices, maybe about work, about money, about relationships, we might already be drained. We lose focus. Our ability to think clearly starts to break down. With so many thoughts competing for the space in our heads, we just start to operate on reaction mode, constantly responding to notifications, messages, and all these external demands without really thinking. We stop directing our own attention because it just feels just too difficult. We are already at like our maximum capacity, but the more noise we take in, the less we hear our own thoughts. We start to feel disconnected, not just from others, but also from ourselves, and we may lose the direction in our lives. The things that we once enjoyed don't feel as exciting, or no matter how much we do, nothing seems fulfilling anymore. At this point, many people start doubling down on just doing more. They fill their schedules even further, hoping that if they just stay busy enough, they won't have to face the feeling that something is missing. But no matter how much they try to add, the real problem doesn't go away because it's not about adding, and that brings us to the deepest layer of the crisis. Core layer, the loss of self. Slowly, during this process, the things that once made you started to fade away. Your values, aspirations, and thoughts aren't fully your own anymore. They are influenced by everything you have consumed. You say yes to opportunities, commitments, and experiences, believing that they will make life fuller and richer. And sometimes they do, at least for a while. Even in the movie Yes Man, Jim Carrey's character transforms his life by saying yes to everything. And at first it works. He breaks out of his routine, meets new people, has new experiences, his world expands. But imagine if he never stopped. Imagine if he just kept going, saying yes, chasing more, feeling every moment without ever pausing to ask himself, what actually matters. At some point, the very thing that once made him live would start to make him lose himself. Because when you prioritize everything, you prioritize nothing. And when you prioritize nothing, who are you anymore? You are a person with no values, no aspirations, no real sense of direction, a version of yourself that doesn't even feel like you anymore. And most people know this deep down, but still they choose this path. And in the next part, I will explain why. Part 3, how we ended up in this mess. 100 years ago, people owned far less. Not because they were naturally minimalist. I mean, minimalism wasn't even a thing 100 years ago, but because things were expensive to make and buy. People just couldn't afford all this stuff. Clothing, furniture, and household goods were built to last decades. People had to save up a lot for these major purchases, and every item they owned had real value. But today it's a whole different story. Mass production has changed everything. Things are much easier and cheaper to produce in massive quantities, and as manufacturing costs dropped, so did prices. So instead of just having to choose the essentials, people could suddenly afford to replace, upgrade, and buy more than ever before. The average person can now own dozens of outfits, multiple pairs of shoes, and a home filled with things they barely use, all without spending much money up front. And it's not just about affordability, it's also about how shopping makes us feel. Buying something new makes us feel great, like we are upgrading our lives, improving ourselves. Another reason I think we are in this mess is because we define ourselves by what we own. A bigger house, a newer car, the right brand of clothes, all signals of status, success, and belonging. Possessions are more than just things. They shape how we see ourselves and how we want to be seen. We chase things not because we need them, but because we fear what it says about us if we don't have them. I'm not here to blame people for falling into this. It is not just individual choices. It's a system that has been built over hundreds, even thousands of years, and it's very hard to see the other side when you have never known anything different. And even when people recognize the problem, it feels better to keep up with consumer culture than to step away from it. Just like it feels better to eat a cake than, for example, boiled broccoli. But this short-term comfort obviously comes at the cost of long-term well-being. And the longer we stay in the cycle, the harder it is to break free. Because the world keeps moving and the distractions never stop. No one is going to come and tell you that, okay, now you have had enough. No one is going to force you to slow down. That's something that you have to decide for yourself. But the good thing is that you can choose where you put your focus. And in the next part, I will show you why minimalism is the way out of this cycle now more than ever. The moment you begin asking what truly adds value, you start to see things differently. It starts this domino effect. You begin to filter out the unnecessary, not just in what you own, but in how you spend your time, what you focus on, and even what thoughts you allow to take up space in your mind. And with that clarity, your decisions improve. You start making choices that align with what you actually want, not what you have been conditioned to want. Minimalism is like a form of self-defense against the forces that try to shape how we live. When you are a minimalist, you become much harder to manipulate. Social comparison starts to lose its pull, and you are no longer in the race to prove anything because you have stopped letting external things define you. And this idea isn't new at all. 2,500 years ago, Buddhism already taught the principle of right livelihood, one of the 8 steps in the eightfold path. It teaches that our way of living should be ethical, sustainable, and free from harm. So living simply to avoid wasting resources and not possessing more than necessary. If this was seen as a path to peace back then 2,500 years ago, its relevance today is even greater. I think the more complex and overwhelming the world becomes, the more important it is to simplify. Minimalism also prepares you for uncertainty. Our world is quite unpredictable. For example, the living costs have increased by 20 to 25% in less than 5 years, and we have no idea if things will still get worse from here or better. But when your life isn't built on unnecessarily high living costs, all this becomes much easier. You spend less, you need less, and you free yourself from the pressure to work insane hours just to sustain your lifestyle. This also makes it easier to rebuild when life throws something unexpected your way. Like if you lost everything tomorrow, how hard would it be to start over? Let's take, for example, Austin Williams, my fellow creator. Maybe you have watched his videos as well. He lost his home in Hurricane Helene. And starting over is never easy, but because he was already living minimally, the loss didn't completely break him. Minimalism helps you make life deeper instead of wider. Most people live by expanding outward, but minimalism takes the opposite approach. Instead of constantly getting more, it's about going deeper with what you already have. Once you step out of the cycle of always needing more, you realize how much lighter life can be. The stress of losing things disappears, and the pressure to look a certain way fades. And that's when you'll connect with who you truly are, maybe for the first time. And that's why minimalism is modern survival. Because once you see where your choices will take you, you cannot unsee it. And now the choice is yours. If you want some specific and practical steps on how to do this, here is my guide on how to be a minimalist in a consumerist world. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to stay kind and meaningful in your own beautiful journey. See you in the next one.